Dangeli. We're like a healthy family because we do the communicating that is involved, whether it's positive or not. We still talk about, even though sometimes it might be hard to talk about. I never knew anything about my culture or anything until I met up with Git Hayetsk, and I have come a long way. I'm learning my language, all the traditions that I never knew before. We weren't taught until we came to this group, and then we learned. I learned, and the kids learned, my grandkids and my daughters, and it really meant an awful lot to us.
It was in us to start a group. We'd grown up in dance groups our entire life, and we knew no other way of being in the world. It's an incredible honor, and it's an incredible responsibility.
The leadership of the Git Hayetsk it's many things. It's family, it's responsibility, it's joy, it's sometimes difficult. And the difficulties are more of working together and getting over this idea of constantly having to just survive. And the one thing that Mique'l and I really talk about through a lot of our performances, when we sing our victory song, we talk about how we honor our rich, complex history of where we come from, but we're also honoring the richness and complexities of where we're coming from now as 21st century Aboriginal people. Those difficulties of teaching each other and moving beyond these things that have been thrusted upon us by the government and residential schools and missionization. I think that they still stick with us, but moving beyond that and thriving.
You can clap if you want to. I have to make a joke before I break into some serious conversation here. If you weren't aware that from 1884 to 1951, everything that you saw practiced in this film was illegal in Canada under the potlatch ban. Everything, our dance practices, including our process of dramaturgy, cannot be separated from their criminalization in Canada through an amendment to the Indian Act that outlawed potlatching. The most central and important ceremony held in common to Indigenous nations on the west coast of Canada, so the west coast of British Columbia, and their associated songs and dances. Most of what you see in museum collections still today came through confiscation, and people went to jail for potlatching. People went to jail for singing our songs, our dances, and especially for giving away. And that giveaway wasn't to render the person or people's giving away in poverty. It was to redistribute the wealth so that everybody had means to survive. So taking away that redistribution of wealth created poverty. Literally, it was illegal for us to be who we are, enforced by jail time and confiscation of our ceremonial belongings. As a result of the potlatch ban in Canada and similar colonial policies that oppressed our practices in Alaska, 3 generations of my family, my mother, my grandmother, great-grandmother, all were not allowed to express who we are through our songs, dances, and ceremonies. I was blessed to grow up during the cultural resurgence where my community, and primarily my mother's generation, reclaimed our songs and dances publicly. I grew up as a member of this dance group, the Git Hayetsk Dancers. I'm this little one. Gaswan in our language means you're missing your 2 front teeth. So I'm this little Gaswan kid right here with the bowl cut. And here's my sister and I. This is my sister dancing our clan dance in our longhouse. I grew up as a member of the Git Hayetsk dance group. It was made integral to our primary and secondary education system. Literally, we learned to sing and dance in school. And we traveled together all over the US and Canada representing our community at public events and private ceremonies very early in my life, as early as I can remember. The responsibilities and teachings that I received in the Git Hayetsk children's dance group, along with several other dance groups I've been a member of since, is a part of why I'm able to do what I do today with my nachs, my husband, and leading the Git Hayetsk. Our traditional territories of the membership in our dance group are primarily located in now what is called British Columbia, the Yukon, and Southeast Alaska. Our dance group is based in the unceded territories of the Coast Salish people, Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh, as well as Stalo. So this is known as Vancouver BC. We do this away from our homelands. We practice our culture and protocols, our songs and dances, we bring with us wherever we go. But we are very grateful to our hosts in the unceded territories of the Coast Salish people for the honor of practicing our culture on their land. We define ourselves, I'm going to say that again, this is self-determination. We define ourselves as traditionally contemporary, not traditional and contemporary, but both simultaneously as our people have always been. What people commonly refer to as contemporary is what our people, as well as Indigenous people globally, practice as ancient traditions of survivance, whereby we incorporate the tools and technologies of the time period that we live in to express our identities, our histories, and lived experiences. It defies the colonial binary of traditional and contemporary being in opposition of one another. That all of these tools and technologies and all that we create become a part of our lifeways that we hand down over generations. And if you want to know more about that in great detail, my husband would love to explain to you how using chainsaws to carve totem poles is a part of our traditions. When it comes to our dance group, many of the songs and dances we perform are ancient songs that have been handed down to us through our families. We sing the history and the time of our ancestors with the critical awareness that these songs were at one time new. As future ancestors, we carry our people's dramaturgical practices forward by creating new songs and dances, masks, regalia to reflect and record our experiences as First Nations people today. Our descendants will remember us in the way that we remember our ancestors, through our embodied archive of songs and dances. Our contemporary traditional dramaturgy is guided by our ancient practice of noch, as was shared in the film, the highest form of supernatural power and its expression through our masks and associated songs and dances. The new Noch Noch songs and dances that we bring to life are born of a partnership between Mike and I, and now our sons are creating Noch Noch, and our older sons and our youngest is a composer. He's always creating new songs. That's in a potlatch that Mike hosted in 2006 to celebrate the completion of my master's degree and the start of my doctoral studies. His family placed the hereditary title of Gitsonk on him. My husband's dance lineage, his dance genealogy is very different from mine. Where I learned the songs and dances in my school system initially, he learned through his family in what is very rare and unbroken line. But how that line didn't break is even more outstanding. Mike's great-great-grandfather on his matrilineal line, Charlie Barton, who's shown here in the black and white photo, was one of the last recorded Gitsonk amongst his nation. Gitsonks are carvers who specialize in creating powerful Noch Noch masks used in dance. They are also composers and choreographers and dramaturgies. Charlie Barton passed on his teaching to his granddaughter, Louisa. Louisa is the elder in the middle here, and this is Mike's mom, Arlene Roberts. When Louise was a little girl, Charlie Barton, her grandfather, and her family had decided that she would not go to residential school. And they hid her for the majority of her childhood in his dark, damp basement. And they passed down incredibly deep knowledge of our ways of being and knowing, our language, our songs and ceremony, our dances to her. But in growing up in this basement, she had developed all sorts of lung issues that plagued her the rest of her life. But she took this knowledge that had been passed down to her, and she created dance groups throughout Southeast Alaska and in northern BC and Nisga'a territory, and her teachings are foundational to what we do today. Charlie Barton, I have to share with you, was his knowledge of Nisga'a territory, of the Adao oral history, Ayao, the laws, so deep, and the reverence for his knowledge led to him traveling as in his early 30s to Ottawa to fight for Nisga'a land claims that eventually became the signing of the Nisga'a Treaty in 2000. So this is the same person in regalia and this man in the suit. That today in our family, the responsibility of perpetuating and carrying on this knowledge and building upon it is carried collectively by us and our three sons. We refer to Natty as, we've referred to him as Natty, which means baby boy, because he's our last one. So he'll be the baby boy of the family forever. So at the potlatch that Mike hosted in 2006 to celebrate the completion of my master's and going into my PhD, when he became a Gitsong, his mom put the title of Halite on me. Halite, one of its many translations is dancer, but it's understanding our place within the cosmos, within our epistemology through dance. Halite is the highest form of supernatural power within our belief system, and it is expressed primarily through the wearing of our amhalite, which is our chief's headdress that you'll see us dance later, in relation to what in other ways of knowing is referred to as a chakra. So it's one of the, for us, it's a special place, powerful place as well. Part of my ascension to the role of Halite has been the recognition by my community that my gift is dreaming dance and bringing them to life, meaning teaching our people to dance in ways that these dances become a part of our ceremonies. One of the most important parts of my dramaturgical process is bringing into our practices histories that I feel will be best remembered through recording them on our bodies, through our songs and dances, so the embodiment of them. That together, Mike carves masks for these dances, we work on the regalia, and that we do the composing of the songs as well, and then we bring them to life. For the remainder, bringing to life meaning the first time that they are publicly danced. That's considered their life amongst our people. It's the start. For the remainder of my talk, I will focus on the creation of the photographer's dance. So if you remember the little map I showed you at the beginning, we're now to the case study. Our photographer's dance was inspired by the work of 19th century Tsimshian photographer Benjamin Alfred Haldane, who is from my community of Metlakatla, Alaska, whose work was my thesis project, my MA thesis, which is now my book project, as well as an exhibition, and his work was just a part of In Our Hands, Indigenous Photography, 1890s to now at the museum, the Minneapolis Institute of Art, the MIA, that just opened up in October. So this is his self-portrait that he created in 1899, and at the time that I started my research, I only knew of his photographs through those that he had taken of my family. Upon presenting his history at a conference with a speaker who was here, it was organized by Hayetsk Dancers, that the Visual Sovereignty Conference put him within a time frame, and this was in 2011, of being one of the earliest professional Indigenous photographers in North America. So that's his standing now. So my dramaturgical process, research is foundational to it. For doing research in Indigenous communities means ongoing accountability, informed consent, reciprocity, and adherence to our protocols, as well as to the ethics of conducting research in Indigenous communities. I sought and received permission from BA's family and our community and our tribal council to do this research in 2004. I'm immensely grateful to them for their ongoing support and encouragement of my work. Over the years, I've held public forums like this, and this one was really special to me. This is why I show these images, because this is BA's granddaughter. So she was still alive when I began this research, and great nieces. Many of the people in this photo are no longer with us. And then BA's, so this is Alison Dundas and Alison Dundas's son, David Nelson III. His dance group performs the photographer's dance, and they're direct descendants of B.A. Haldane. That at these public forums, after receiving their permission to begin this research, I started bringing to them his photographs digitally, because what I was finding out is, other than these rare photos that were in families' personal collections, there actually weren't a lot of his images that were still in our community. And this is really where my archival research began, is that amongst these devastating and invaluable images produced from 163 glass plate negatives from BA's studio that were salvaged from a local waste facility in our community in 2003. They're permanently scarred from the heat and flames. These burned and broken negatives are portraits of Indigenous people, families, and communities. They act as a constant reminder of our near loss of this history. The discovery of these negatives was the catalyst for now a 20-year life's journey that has continued to play out between previously separate places, my community, academia, and the archive. And part of my work has been to go into archives and to locate the original prints of the negatives. And these are some of the examples. Most of the memories that elders and BA's family shared with me included grief and loss over his photographs lost in house fires as they were handed down over generations. And it's made the priority for me to repatriate his images digitally, as well as through prints, through many means, including exhibitions. That in order to thank BA's family and our community for their support and to reciprocate for their time and knowledge, and to return to best I can what was lost, I opened up this exhibition in 2007 called Our Past to Inspire Our Future, looking at our past to inspire our future, a photo exhibition of Metlakatla's history where we redistributed prints of his photography. Over 300 people attended the exhibition, and through their personal orders of these images, we redistributed 5,000 images, about 5,000. BA's extensive body of work spans nearly 40 years, including images of daily life, historic events, Indigenous-owned industries, bands, sports teams, landscapes. But most significant to us is that BA documented the subversive means through which our ceremonies continued despite them being outlawed under the regime of missionary William Duncan. This is one of the many examples of the images that act for us as propaganda of his successful assimilation of our people. And these are the ones that are most widely published and distributed, especially around the time that our community was founded, as though William Duncan had created a strategy for successful assimilation that other missionaries should take up. But at the same time, so B.A. Haldane is in this image. This is Sidney Campbell right here. And in the center here, this is Sidney Campbell, whose chief's name is Samoygat Nishlu. And that two other council members that are underlined and bolded are also in that photo. That for us, BA's photographs act as a lens through which we can see our ancestors as they saw themselves. That our practice, everything that I shared with you at the beginning of this presentation, continued on in our community through subversive means that was under the guise of Christianity or Euro-American culture. Images like these became the focus of my study. And right now, so we've located this totem pole. It's also part of other types of physical repatriation. It's at the Department of the Interior Museum in Washington, D.C. And we're working right now, hopefully, to repatriate it in the next few years. So those photographs for us are a visual testament of the strength and resilience of our culture as a part of a continuum. That rather than saying revival, resurgence is definitely more fitting for our community. Around the time of the completion of my master's degree, I started seeing a dance of his work, and it was beautiful but really frustrating because usually there's a song. Our practice is kind of song first and then dance, and so I had this dance and there was no song. And at that same conference that Halea Sinajani hosted at the C.M. Gorman Museum in 2009, the Visual Sovereignty Conference, there was a Musqueam Apache, then doctoral student, now he's a doctor, named Douglas Worley, who gave every participant at the conference a round dance song in the Patwin language, the Indigenous language of that area. And it just all came together. I asked him, can I bring this back to my dancers? And this is what I'm thinking about doing. And he was so excited about it that he came to see the dance being brought to life at our engagement potlatch in 2009. That Mike carved the mask, and on the mask you can see the dashes. And so that dashes, it doesn't happen as much anymore because of changes in technology, but I'm sure all of you have experienced the way somebody's heavy flash leaves those sparks in your eyes. So that's what those dashes are, and especially at that time period, because those flashes in the early photography were really bright and heavy. And then this is the photographer's drape. So they have to be underneath this drape and keeping every bit of light out on the inside of their camera to take these photos. And this great big camera in my hand is passed down to me from my dad. It's one of the first Polaroids. Polaroids were that gigantic. I was so excited because it was so perfect for this dance. So I'm not going to tell you what happens in the dance, I'm going to show you. it's very rare for us to have footage of bringing to life a song and dance, and that was at 3 a.m. in the morning. Hey, Dawn. Dawn is my husband's brother and best man at our wedding, and was there for our engagement potlatch. And that camera that you see at the end of the dance is a real camera. It's a digital camera, and that I incorporated the digital camera in honor of our current Indigenous photographers. That camera is property of that Noch, so everything that is on that camera is from all the times that it's been danced. And one of my favorite parts of bringing that song to life was when I went to go take a picture of my mom, and my mom was taking a picture of me with her digital camera. We strengthened our Noch in 2011, shown here back home in Metlakatla, Alaska. It was the first time we had danced it there. And I had asked BA's family to stand up and to be acknowledged, and I gave the dance to their family. And it's the only time that Mike and I have ever made a full set of Noch exactly the same as much as possible. So they have those photographs that we've rigged for dancing. They have a mask. We even gave them a blanket for the photographer. And now it's danced at home as a part of the Haldane family's wealth. It's performed by Git Hayetsk Dancers, led by David Nelson III, who I had pointed out in that photograph. The oratory that you'll hear, that you'll see when we share today, it's a part of our dramaturgical practice. It's also a protocol that we share with you the history of the songs, especially around ownership, because this is our expression of not only our identities, but our relationships to different people. So to dance a dance you don't have permission to perform, for us, is identity theft. It goes beyond copyright. I wanted to show an example of oratory for that dance when it's done for witnesses, for audiences that are not our people. So this is when we performed at the National Museum of the American Indian in Washington, D.C. in 2017. Please note I'm out of breath as I'm giving this oratory because we had like 4 performances in a row every day. It was a dance Olympics. So here it goes. My apologies.
Our next song is another new song that was composed in the public language by a very dear friend of ours and relative, DJ Worley. And my Knox will be explaining this song.
So it's important for us, as you've seen already, that we not only sing the songs of our ancestors, but that we compose and choreograph new songs and dances that talk about the time that we live in today. And this song was one that was gifted to me, and I already had the dance, I already dreamt the dance. As I shared in my introduction, my name is Dr. Mique'l Dangeli. I'm a professor at the University of Alaska Southeast. And when I was writing my master's thesis on the photography of Benjamin Alfred Haldane, a Tsimshian who started a portrait studio in our community in 1899. When I was doing this work, I just saw him as this incredible photographer that took very powerful pictures of our community and our families. I had no idea that he's considered one of the very first professional Indigenous photographers in all of North America until I presented my research at the University of California in Davis at an Indigenous photographers conference called Visual Sovereignty. At that conference, a young Musqueam Apache PhD candidate gifted us this song, gifted all of the Indigenous photographers and Indigenous photographers, scholars, this song. And the dance, that is BA's photography, came to life through this gift. So when we dance this song, we ask all of our witnesses to think critically about what you mean when you ask someone or you tell someone, that's not traditional. Because if our people have a practice of using photography since 1899, and we have the longest standing practice of incorporating all the tools and technologies that come into our territories into our practices, who's to say what is not our tradition? Our traditions are self-determined by us, and photography is one of our traditions. This is our photographer song.
The song and dance commemorating the song. Oh, I should use the microphone, hey? Almost forgot. The song and dance commemorating BA's photography is now so integral to both our ceremonies and public performances that then he started doing this at 3 years old. He's 4 now. He thinks his toy camera is a part of his regalia and asks us to sing for him so he can dance our photographer's song. By caring for the dramaturgical practices in partnership as a Halite and Git Sonk in the way of our ancestors, Mike and I have ensured that BA's photography has truly re-entered our community's living archive through being held in the memory of our witnesses, sung by our singers, and embodied in the movement of our dancers. Thank you all. We have time for questions, and then 15 minutes. Look at that, it's 3 o'clock. I'm actually on time for starting late. And I'm sure that someone will help get a microphone to you. I know that they're live streaming this. So, any questions? There's hands up right there. 2 hands up. 3. Awesome. I was hoping to have a conversation.
Wondering, how are the masks made? What are they made out of?
Naksu Yanagi.
It's an old Indian trick.
He probably doesn't need a mic because his name is Mike and he's got a loud voice.
So your first part was how long does it take? It just depends on my inspiration. I've done masks in less than a day.
You have to hold this.
Oh. Sometimes I can get them done in just a few, 6-8 hours. I can get a mask done, and then so I use alder, red cedar. I've used maple, birch. I've even carved some out of camphor, which was when I was in Japan. I've done it out of German pine when I was in Germany. It's kind of whatever I can get, but they need to be green. As far as the medium hardwoods, because it's easier to carve. So yeah, that's that. I hope that answered your question.
Hi. So I've been in media most of my life, so I just love what you're doing in terms of sort of reclaiming being a part of the broader technological community. I think that's just really cool. So my question for you is, when I was watching that, to me, I see a series of TikTok videos. Are you planning on doing, sort of expanding into a social media sphere? Because it seems to me.
So he's my social media expert. So you can follow us. geez, I didn't even put that slide in here. But he's really good about social media, and so is our son Nick, who went to school for filmmaking. So he graduated from one of the few Indigenous-focused film schools. It's at Capilano University. It's called IIDF, Indigenous Independent Indigenous Digital Film Program. Yeah, that's what the two I's are for. And then he's made a TikTok account for us. I know this is going to sound really lame, but I don't do it. I don't do TikTok just because I have a little guy, and most of my family is on Facebook, so I do Facebook and Instagram, but eventually, yes. And then one of the interesting things that has happened, specifically for when the dance is performed by BA's relatives, is that they prefer to use an iPhone over the digital camera that we gifted them. And so just to see, like the first time I saw a photo of it, I was like, oh, this is so amazing, because it's right where we're at. And in this video, the one that I didn't show the dance for, just the introduction at the National Museum of the American Indian, there's a lot of selfie taking with that camera. So sitting down with people and taking selfies. And one of the most interesting responses was at Carleton University, one of the, because we performed there with our dance groups, so they got to see it live, so with all of our dancers, I should say. And this woman said, I was really uncomfortable when the photographer was taking a photo of me. And I never had considered like consent. And then, because I'm not doing anything with the images, but then I just had this moment of where, well, now you know how we feel. No one ever asks us permission to take photos of us in our regalia. And then she said, I do that all the time. And it was such a good moment to realize, that there's so many ways that this dance really does, you're definitely changing the dynamic in such an important and dramatic way to get people to think critically about their misconceptions, bias, stereotypes that they have about indigeneity, about Indigenous practices. Thank you for your question, and someday I will TikTok.
Hi. I was absolutely moved by the photographer's dance. I hadn't seen that one dance. But what was kind of what struck me was how do you prepare the group for something that's so steep? So is it conversation before there's any physical movements, or how does that happen? And then how does one pass that on? I think that was my bigger question. Then you said you had then gifted it. How do you even, do you go as, as part of the process? How do you pass that on to then another group of people?
Our dancers were psyched because they knew that I had this dance that I kept talking to them about, and when I finally had a song for it, so that those of you that are powwow dancers probably saw the step at the beginning that I did specifically to honor that round dance. That's not a step that is ours, and I wanted to honor and pay reverence to the origins of the song. So in terms of how to prepare dancers, it's mostly about teaching them the song first. So conceptually, we had the conversations. Once they know the song, it's easier to teach the dance. So any of you that are dancers out there, traditional dancers, you know that if you don't know that song, you're not going to do very well. And that goes, I feel like the best composers are dancers, because there are some that are so fast, or that have no like offbeats and just like no actual like moments of pause in the dance where you can switch up your moves. That's like, oh, this is a singing song, this is not a dancing song. So there's that aspect of it. And then a lot of practice, because the most nerve-wracking part for the dancers is the reveal of the photographs. And then I had to give them all sorts of analogies that they didn't understand. I was like, it's like starting a chainsaw. It's like starting an outboard engine. It's like, and I was like, what other? And they were just like, what? Like they'd grown up in Vancouver. They, you know, we're coming from an island and our islands and villages. And so, yeah, so eventually it was just like, just pull really hard and fast. And then in terms of like transferring that knowledge, under the potlatch band, that was the hardest part of the potlatch band in terms of this disruption of intergenerational transfer, is that songs took on different lives. And my Knox will share with you an example, because he's an awesome singer, so I'm going to get him to sing. But sometimes their beats switched up to take on a different purpose. And then the transfer, some of them were transferred as lullabies. Songs that weren't lullabies were transferred, their knowledge of them were transferred into little ones as lullabies and nursery rhymes. And a really sad example, but powerful, is how my husband's family's, one of their songs survived as the funeral dirge. So it was used in the opposite way of its intentions, but dances were not transferred. We have more, because you can't hide them in other forms. And we have more old songs than we do old dances. And one of the dances that we'll share today is an ancient song with a new dance. And when I'm asked to do that work, I'm doing one, actually Mike and I are gonna start one pretty recent. Recently we've been asked that there's a warrior's song that has been passed down in Nisga'a, Sidney Campbell's family, that they have commissioned this regalia from Mike. So he's going to be making all of this, and he and I will paint it together. And then they've asked that I create the dance for that song. So we're in this place in our reclamation where we're bringing our songs back, our ancient songs back, in a way where we're gifting them a dance. So that's going to be one of our next projects. Showing everyone your bussy. And was that helpful? So I'm going to have Mike share that example of the switch up in his family song in order for it to survive. I can hold it.
Okay. So the song is actually a canoe and traveling song. So it goes, the way we sing it, the way I was taught to sing it is, Ana haye, haye, ana haye. And so it's a very happy, uplifting song. And through the Potlatch Band, we were very fortunate in my village of Gingolith, the place of skulls, the Anglican Church, in their way of trying to convert us, did a lot of the sermons in Nisga'a. And so they allowed our songs to be used, and it was one of the only few places that was allowed to be that way. But the only way we were allowed to sing it is if we sang it really slow. So it was, Ana haye, haye, ana haye. And the recordings that my grandmother was able to listen to, I've actually listened to. They're at the Royal BC Museum in Victoria. But it was really interesting to hear that and for us to sing it correctly.
And they're carrying a casket as they're singing the song. And the song is meant to be sung as you're entering into the waters, into the territory. So you're meant to be in a canoe, traveling with your family, and you're expressing how happy and excited you are to see your relatives. So it's very, very sad, but I mean, extremely sad. that's how it's continued on in our family, though. Without that repurposing, we wouldn't have it today. And I'm going to share, if it's okay, the way that your gramps taught you the chief's headdress. So I really thought that like this disruption that had happened with our dances, I thought that it wasn't really possible for them to take on other forms to be passed down until Mike had told me that, so his grandfather had rheumatoid arthritis that froze his neck, and our chief's headdress song, the majority of the movement is in your neck and shoulders. And you'll see that Michael pointed it out when we dance it. And Mike said that his grandfather brought him down to the tide pools, and especially the whirlpools, and told him to watch the movement of the water, the circular movement of the water, and he used his hands. And I'm gonna have Mike, since he's holding that, he can't show you with his hands, but if you sing just a couple of verses, I can use my hand the way that your grandfather taught you.
Demye tsemilaha, demye tsemilaha, demye tsemilaha, demye tsemilaha, slugat kotkobam gonitza, aha, aha, wa.
So when Mike showed me that, I was like, that can't be new. He had to have learned that somewhere. That's how, because our chief's headdress dance is closest, I feel, to the oldest form of dancing, because there was some film, black and white film, that was taken amongst the Git Hayetsk people showing our chief's headdress dancers, so I could see that it's an old dance style. But yeah, I was like, he had to have learned that from somewhere. That wasn't just about his arthritis, you know. Really exciting. Any other questions before we take a break? We're so on time. It's perfectly like 3:15. So we'll come back at 3:30 and dance for you guys. Mike will be doing the majority of the singing and intro.
So just clip them on him? Yeah. Okay. We're going to charge it while you guys get ready, and then keep it full battery. Do you want to plug this in just for a bit, and then when Mike sings,
yeah,
we'll
see,
hook it up
it's
to
low
him.
battery.
Yeah.
That's what was driving me up the wall, is like these guys were not charging. I also have this one charging, so we can plug this one in.
You have to have a full charge for
Yeah.
like 15 minutes when we use it.
Yeah, so I just turned the camera flat. Somebody took out the machine and I put it on. Oh, now it's running now, but then the audio, it's like plug it into the camera. But I thought it had to be plugged in here, so I plugged it in here. And then I hit on, and they're like, well, we don't have audio. So I plugged it in here, and they're like, we don't have audio. Plugged it back in here, hit on, and I plugged it in. Awesome. So I just have to make sure I don't get these guys where they're changing like that.
Wow, but it's nice having them.
Oh, I ended them so that you can't see where they're changing. I'll put one.
No, but I mean, one to dance, and how are we gonna?
Oh, I have one angled this way, like this direction, and one angled this way.
Oh, okay.
So, and I think they should be out of the way enough.
Or do I, should I be on that side?
There's no camera.
Yeah.
Bump the cord that way.
Let's go get changed.
Yeah, so I have this angle here except for where they're changing, and then I have this one here except for where they're changing.
Well, she said
And
they're
I have
not
it-
so much changing clothes.
Yeah.
That's what.
So So they just, yeah, she doesn't want them.
Yeah.
And that's
Oh, yeah,
that's
that's
protocol. So, yeah, so I
But when they're dancing, it's going to be.
I'll just cut.
Can we not prove that?
Oh, you can see you right now.
Oh, okay. I don't know. If we could move that camera over there, I don't know, is the wire too long? Too short?
Wasn't it the mics that you said on Thursday?
Because it was, so this was charged, but the other ones were not. Oh. And
What?
But you can keep going, Paul. Yeah, you can keep going back further. You're gonna have to angle it to your left. No, keep facing to the left of the wall. A little bit more. You can't see.
Oh,
that's right. A little bit more, Paul.
never mind. I thought you wanted it
Okay,
like.
and then we'll just zoom out a little bit. Hands up for it, yeah.
No, it's not. Yes, you can.
Huh?
Yes, you can.
Oh, okay.
Please don't say something.
Good in?
I'll film in cinematic mode. Put on my phone.
You're right. You're right.
Yeah.
There you go, that's cut off. Yeah, no, it fell on my finger and that's why I went, ow. So, good. Small children. I do have a filter. Everyone's that'd be called Mique'l Dangeli.
Did you end up getting everything set up? Okay.
So somebody had gone in, I had originally written notes in here because the procedure is completely different to get YouTube to work from Facebook.
Oh, okay.
And the way they had listed it originally was they had just basically copy and pasted the same steps, and it's not the same steps.
Oh, okay.
And originally when I had been in here, I had corrected it all, and I haven't been in here in 2 months since the last time we did it.
Yeah.
And so I'm like madly trying to reformat myself, and it's like, well, you need to paste in the street key. Well, that doesn't work for YouTube. You actually have to link your YouTube account, and then it'll bring up a separate menu for the video after you hit go live for which video is pre-programmed. And so I did that, and then that's what we'll stream.
Okay.
And it's like a whole, so I basically wrote, please do not remove this copy. It removes this, it explains the steps for engage radically.
Okay.
And then like everything in here, I've crossed stuff out and wrote other things in, and then like, it says like, make sure the Rode speaker is plugged into the camera. Well, no, the Rode speaker is actually supposed to be plugged into the ATM Mini Pro, and then that's supposed to be turned on to here and on here. And so I wrote that underneath. So these steps are both out of date
Okay.
and not 100% accurate.
Well, I think I can send Kristen an email too, and maybe.
I had told Kristen last time,
Yeah.
but I think she said she's not the only one that uses this part.
Okay.
And she said sometimes what will happen is somebody else will come and use it and they'll take things or they're like other stuff, or they won't plug stuff in, and it's even if it's plugged in behind like a locked door beside the cart, like that's just standard practice to have them all charging all the time.
And I mean, even if we could get like the
instructions typed up.
Yeah,
And, like,
well, and even
you know,
with pictures or something, right?
Yeah.
Like screen captures.
Yeah.
So like people who are like, well, I don't understand these written instructions. They're like, oh, okay, so here's pictures of it.
Yeah.
Because yeah, with YouTube, you have to go in here and you have to sit. I'm just gonna actually.
test, test. Oh, not on. It's blinking. The battery? That usually means it's almost. Test, test. Okay. Test, test, test. Can you guys all hear me out there? Awesome. Shalom Satamam. We are about to begin. Are we ready? Awesome. Let's rock and roll. Ada teeth clean, ada Mike Dangeli to wayu. Gingola the wawatku. Tsimel dibadeko. Chilowak de whatsagan. And oyaxisum tani snoosum. I'm a sauce, I'll get one. How you guys doing? That's what I said. No, I'm kidding. How I've introduced myself is in the Tsimshian language, the language that is shared amongst the Tsimshian, Nisga'a, and Gitxsan in northern British Columbia and southeast Alaska. It's our absolute honor and privilege to be here to share our songs and dances. A little bit of protocol. It is okay to take photographs in video. If you're going to upload them to any social media, please tag at Mike Dangeli or at Git Hayetsk, and I'm sure the spelling is all out there. If you need help, it's M-I... No, I'm just kidding.
We'll have Nandy introduce himself after you.
Oh. So we're the Git Hayetsk Dancers. There's actually about, in total, there's about 50 of us. And we're a smaller group in the ways of making sure that all of our dancers have a position and a space within our dance, within our dancing. My Nux and I started this dance group 21 years ago. And we've had the awesome privilege of dancing all over the world, acting as ambassadors of our people. So it means a lot to be able to do that. We brought some of our Nok, and Nok means beyond human power, and they are personified through our ceremonial beings. So we brought some of those with us. I brought my little drum with me today. I have a big 36-inch drum, which is really tough to get on the airlines, specifically the small planes, because then they say we need to get a bigger plane. So we're excited, and we're excited about being here. And that being said, we'll have our youngest member introduce himself. So the exciting thing about Hayek's, he's the first in 2 generations to be a first language speaker. And I'm very grateful to my Nux for teaching him. She is an amazing teacher in our language. I'm also one of her students. So it means a lot to be able to hear the language coming from such a young one. And the beauty and power is that this young man came into the world, I mean, through his whole time he was in his knoll, he sang and danced while she sang and danced, and he came into this world through song. So it's really important. This is really important to him, and this is him being his true self, as we are as well. So it means a lot to be able to do this. The first song that we're going to share, because we actually had to share a song before, that song we shared before, and usually I give the introductions, but I just came right in to sing it. The song that we shared in the very beginning my family would sing as we traveled from the Nass River to our Tlingit relatives in southeast Alaska to the Stikine River, and we would echo it back and forth to each other to let each other know that family were coming. And so we do this to let places know that the Git Hayetsk are coming. As I was saying, we're going to unroll our big house, our longhouse floor, and claim this space for just a moment by following our roles and responsibilities and our protocols within our singing and dancing. I ask that no pictures are taken behind the screen and no recording behind the screen because this is where our noch rest and get ready to share, and this is our belief. They're not inanimate objects. They are living, breathing beings, and we're very fortunate that they have chose us to allow to dance with. So we just asked for that. So the first song that we will share is another old and ancient song handed down to me through my late grandparents, Samagik Oye and Sigam Hanach Basach, Reggie and Louise Dangeli. And this is our peace song. You're going to see my Naksu scatter pakwa, eagle and swans down. This is how we sanctify and bless the area. We don't have sage and sweetgrass where we're from. We actually do ritual bathing 365 days in the year out in that ice and snow. But for us, when we scatter pakwa, the eagle and swans down, it is the closest that we get to heaven in this human form. After our performance today, and if the down lands on you, for us it is seen as a huge blessing and medicine. So if it lands on you, I guess in English it would be like good luck. So if the pakwa lands on you, please take it as a blessing and a gift from us and make it part of your own medicine bundle. And so without any further ado, this is our peace song. It is okay to clap, folks. And Alexis, for the reminder, we've appropriated that from the other, and we like applause just as much as everybody else. So it's okay to clap. And even sometimes we get people who, in that video, even though it was like my Nux was sharing, it was like 3 o'clock in the morning. The main voice that I heard through the whole time was my big brother Don's. You're more than I know some of our Indigenous people have some beautiful cries of excitement and love and joy and victory. So we accept that as well. So the next song we're going to share with you, we received in trade and connects us. Our people have a long history of trade and exploration up and down the coast and throughout Turtle Island in the Americas, and even down to New Zealand and Australia. We have a dowch of our people, our canoes making those journeys. And our canoes aren't like your typical canoes. They were sometimes up to, small ones were 50 feet. And so we had 100 and 150 footers that our people used to go up and down the coast and all over for trade and, of course, exploration and making familiar connections. This next song does just that, and it's a new connection with our dear relative Sa'aplak, Bob Baker of the Squamish people. Amongst the Squamish people, They have a being they call Anacha'in in the Hakamelam language. In Samalgik, we call this being Satumpti. In English, it is the thunderbird. And so the thunderbird's job for us on the West Coast in our longhouses is to get all of the witnesses to pay attention. A witness, and that's what all of you are today, a witness is one of the most prestigious places to be. It's your job to watch, to listen, to feel it in your God, your heart, and then you go share it. This is way before Facebook Live and Instagram Reels and all those fun stuff. Now that we do those as well, and as I said, please tag Mike Dangeli and the Git Hayetsk Dancers if you're tagging anything. That's my little spiel. But you're going to this was the job of the Thunderbird. And so the Thunderbird got everybody's attention. And it was then that the business and everything was taken care of throughout that day. And so you're going to see my Nox and Shuget, our little son, dancing Anacha'in Satumpti, the Thunderbird. And you're going to see them dancing all the beautiful colors in the rainbow that the Creator, Samagalaha, has given us. And for us, Samagalaha has also given us every color in the rainbow. And we have names for every one of those colors, so we argue that that makes them traditional. So you're going to see Simflodum Nusum and Luguishlim Skatsamil dance Anacha'in Satumpti, the Thunderbird. And throughout the whole performance, I'll be asking them, I'm asking if their hearts are ready for this. So, and they said yes. So this is Anacha'in Satumpti, the Thunderbird. So while they're changing to get into the next song, or the song after I share this one, we were going to sing this one, but we sang it a little bit when my Nux was sharing about how my family changed it to be able to share. So this is Song of the Waves that was composed by my great-grandfather, Charlie Barton, and we use this to say we're happy to be here, to celebrate, to dance, to feast with all of you. And we hope that our words, our actions land as lightly as these feathers on all of you. And this is Song of the Waves. That's enough! So within this, in the travel that we do, it's often difficult to introduce not just our noch and our noh, our drums, to different environments. So my drum's sounding a little different today. It's sounding a little richer and wanting to like be here. So I'm really grateful for that, but also for our throats, just different area than the coast. So if I sing a little off, nobody's gonna know, but my brother will, and I'm sure he'll tell me later. We are going to scatter some pakwa again. This song is one my Nux was sharing and talking about. In this song, we are going to scatter the pakwa. Sorry, I'm not checking my email. I'm just making sure I got the right song. So the pakwa again, and what they're wearing on the top, for us, we don't dance the masks, they dance us. It's our belief that they're living, breathing beings. And so the highest form of masks in our amilch is the amhalite, often referred to as the chief's headdress. And this is because this is our most strongest of all of our power. And for us, our belief system is that our souls reside in our heads and in our hearts. So much of what we do and share, especially in our language, is heart-based. Especially when we talk about happiness and joy, is all heart-based. And you'll hear our little guy talking about things, and he'll say popcorn hearts, or he'll say hobier hearts. And so what he's talking about is his love and
It sure means a lot to see this little guy doing this, and he actually, as you saw, he forgot that he had to do his little solo there for a second. As 4-year-olds do, he just got caught up in the moment. But to see the love and joy, and we have a lot of really young ones in our dance group. I think the oldest is 7, and the youngest, of course, is Nadia at 4, and there's quite a few toddlers, and to be able to see these young ones, just their absolute love and joy of the culture is so beautiful. And this is something that just really brings a lot of joy in our lives in being able to share this, and I look forward to future generations. And if you guys can keep a secret, our eldest son, Michael, and his sweetheart are expecting their first baby, so we'll be grandparents in May. So keep it to yourselves. And it's being live streamed, so I'm sure he's already used to it, because I sure love bragging about the good things in life, because I think we need more of that. Yes, we do. Thank you. So that kind of goes into this next song. This song was created by another brother of mine who we grew up in Metlakatla together. His name is Tsimshian, David Nelson III, and we grew up singing together, and we didn't dance at the time, but we sang not just our traditional songs, but a lot of heavy metal and rock and roll growing up. And he's an amazing song composer, and he leads his own dance group. And so he gifted us this song, and we in turn gifted him a bunch of masks to dance toward this, and it represents one of my favorite cultural heroes. His name is Tsimshian. Tsimshian represents the very best of us, the very worst of us. Tsimshian is human personified. For some of you may have heard stories of him. People often mislabel him as Raven. Well, that's not he's not Raven. His favorite form is of the raven. And so he's a trickster. He loves to tease. And so you're going to be visited by a Tsimshian spirit. Raven, Tsimshian, in his various raven shapes and forms and colors. And his first color was actually of the white raven. Before he released the sun and the moon and the stars, people love to say steal, but no, he didn't steal it. He released it for all of us. And so you're going to see Tsimshian in the white form, and you've all been warned. I'm asking you. Oh, is how you respond. So I'll say it again. Oh, I'm double. lost the hat? Oh, right there, son. What's that? Natty, go see no. Usually we have a couple of dancers that are able to do all this, so we're just going to leave it to the young one going back and forth. So we got some cell phones here. Don't worry, it's no long distance fees calling the spirit world. So who lost a phone? 2 phones here. Go give one to your beep. Give one to Beep Don. Natty. Last phone over here. No, over there in the sweatshirt, son. Over there. Oh, awesome. So if you lost something, please raise your hands. Don't be shy. I'm not going to make you get up and dance. Raise your hands if you lost something. I'm looking at a person who lost a purse, and she didn't have her hand up. Not her purse.
It's not mine.
Oh, it's not yours. Okay. So for us, when something from the supernatural world touches us in the mortal realm, that is a huge blessing. So please take it as a sign of love and affection. So can we give them a round of applause, please? Okay. So this next song is my own personal power, and this song comes from a longer adawach, a story that I was taught since I was way younger than Hayetsk. And it's a moral story about the beaver and the porcupine. The gist of it is they didn't treat each other very well. And they both suffered the consequences of their actions. I guess you would call it karma. You would call it many things. What you put out is what you get back, what you reap, what you sow, all those beautiful sayings. And so we have something very similar in that what we put out into the universe will come back to us so many times fold. And so this particular story really resonated with me growing up, and about how we need to treat each other, and making sure that I put out the best energy as I could, and for a long time I didn't. But as I get older, I'm understanding the importance of this and making sure that you put your best foot forward. And there's many songs that tells this very beautiful adawach. And in this one song, calls upon the strongest of the 4 winds, the north wind. And so the north wind, we use as a messenger. We give our prayers to the north wind, and the north wind carries it to the Creator. And the Creator uses this being to give us back strength and power. And so I saw this in my own life twice. Actually, I saw it many times. I'm a former U.S. Army Airborne Ranger. And in my 4 tours of combat, I sang this song. And I really honestly believe this is why I made it home, was because of my culture. And so the 2 times that I saw this growing up, the first time was when my father and my uncle passed away in a boating accident. And as we were with our Tlingit relatives in Saxman, Alaska, preparing for their journey by burning food, by burning clothing, so that they can feast and potlatch on the other side, my family said, "Michael, get up and share a song." So I began singing this song, Calling to the North Wind. And as we're on the beaches, the wind and the waves, the louder I sang, the stronger I sang, the stronger the wind and the waves became. And when I stopped, it too stopped. A coincidence, maybe. The following year, my Uncle Bill, who was my absolute hero, passed away. My Uncle Bill was a Marine in Vietnam. He taught me to read Leo the Lion. He played for the University of Washington Huskies in 2 Rose Bowls. If you don't know college football, Rose Bowl is like the Stanley Cup of college football. I actually sat on the bench with him and the other players. And so he was my hero, and so when he passed, it left a really big hole in my heart. And again, we were on the beaches of Metlakatla, Alaska, again, burning food, burning clothing. And again, I was asked to sing, so I began singing this song. And the louder and stronger I sang, the louder and stronger the wind and the waves became. And when I stopped, it too stopped. It was then that my family gathered together, and my grandmother and my mother and my grandfather said, "This is your knock-knock. This is your power song. Use it as a prayer song. Use it to bring strength to those in need." And so I've sang this song my entire life. And it wasn't until 21 years ago, that we wanted to make it part of the dance, or make it part of our dance group. But it didn't have the dance didn't survive the potlatch ban, and neither did the masks. They were actually confiscated and put into
names. Our Nisga'a Nation has actually just repatriated them, and they're in the Nisga'a Museum. Rather than taking those back, I wanted other artists and our fellow Nisga'a to see these beautiful masks, so we carved new ones. What we're showing is the beautiful complexities of our past, but also the beautiful complexities of who we are as 21st century Indigenous people. So this is our North Wind song and prayer song. The masks that are being danced are new masks, and the choreography is brand new from my Nux. Well, within 20 years. So this is our North Wind song. It's pretty wonderful to be, as a father and a husband, to be able to do this work and watch my wife and son do this. And so at home in our house in Chilliwack, we've cleared out much of our house. Looks very different. It looks like a feast hall sometimes in the amount of knock that's out there, and Hayetsk dances these multiple times a day and sings or actually makes us sing multiple times a day. So when our dancers say, oh, I really miss having practice when we don't have practice for a week, I'm like, I practice every day with this little guy. So I just gotta move the microphone for a second. Excuse me for a moment. So I put down, there we go, how's that? Can you all hear me? So I put down my other drum, my hand drum, and I'm gonna call forward my wek, my brother Icesis. He's going to come and assist us in this song. So you can go behind the screen, brother. Your Thamps is waiting for you. Your sister-in-law is waiting for you. In this dance is often is a song that we received as a gift from one of my dear Tlingit brothers, Blake Lapine. He's an inland Tlingit, dances with the Yukon Daku'kwan dancers, and he's a carver himself. And so this song is a carver song, and it talks about Blake's experiences. They were working in the inland, carving a canoe, and he was carving a mask, his first mask. And the mask, as somebody was asking earlier, how is it when you're carving fresh alder? Sometimes the way, and even red cedar, I've had this happen. I know somebody I used to really look up to, and a mentor, Bo Dick, talked about a canoe cracked in half completely because of how it fell when the so that happens all the time. So sometimes you get cracks that you don't see, especially in alder, because alder is such a beautiful, tight-grained wood that until it dries, you don't know how it's going to, it always cracks, but it always closes up. And so Blake was so disheartened by this, by his first mask breaking, that it inspired him. Actually, he went to go sit up into the trees and just kind of sit there and feel bad about himself for a little bit. But he started hearing the adzing. And an adze, elbow adze, is one of our important tools for carving. And so he heard this beautiful sound of the adzes hitting the wood. So with hearing this adawak, this mouse, this new history, we were inspired to create, rather than log drums, we wanted something that we can carry with us all the time. And so, to my knowledge, these are some of the first handheld wood drums amongst our people. And so they're carved. We left them unfinished for a particular reason, because we're carving them. And so my sons have theirs. Natty has his. He hasn't graduated to having something like this yet, because he sings and dances, and so sometimes he wants to dance masks, and sometimes he just wants to dance he wants to come and carve with me. So I think they're almost ready, but this song is a carver's dance. I'm a carver. And so to be able to see this, the mask you're going to be seeing is one of our highest forms of supernatural power. I won't get into it too much, but it was carved by my eldest son, Mique'l Dangeli. And it and all the Somaliac in my head, sometimes it's hard to remember all these names. But Mique'l carved this mask last winter with me. It was his first time learning how to carve this particular style mask. And these are one of my favorite masks to create. So you're going to see us dancing our carver's mask. That's the first time I've been able to sing that with just me and Hayek's rather than inside our house. So that means a lot to be able to sing that and dance that for you all here today. Can I get a round of applause for our roadie assistant here? My brother Don McIntyre and Icesis. So our last song before our exit, and before we complete our day today, Q&A, the talk back, whatever. We have a little bit of business to take care of, but we'll do that after our victory song. And
We can do that now.
oh, okay, yeah, we're gonna come on up, brother. Yeah, I told you to sit down and come back. So for paying our witnesses, and that's all of you guys, I have a bunch of decals here that I've created. One is about Raven bringing the light, and that's a sticker that will go to all of you guys. Another one is Git Hayetsk, in case you had questions on our socials and how to spell Git Hayetsk. It's on here. There's a sticker, and the last totem pole I did in Prince Rupert was my 29th totem pole, and again, it was to honor and commemorate our murdered or missing relatives and our residential school survivors. I did a limited edition print just for that totem pole, and I got these stickers made up of the red dress with a feather on here. So if Paul's students can pass these out while we do a little bit of potlatching, we have a way of Geich, which is a way of publicly paying, so there's a bunch here if you can hand it. Yeah, there's 3 of them, but spread them out to everybody, please. It's important that everybody at least gets one. After everybody gets at least one, we'll hand them out and make sure everybody gets a couple of them if we can. So we have some special gifts, little copper shields, and this one's from my brother of another mother, Icesis, Don McIntyre. Don is one of my best friends. He's my big brother. He's my best man. He's so much, and the pendant that we're giving him is a hand-pounded copper shield that I made, and the beads on there, I added a couple of glass beads on there, but they're plastic beads that belong to Hayetsk, and he wanted to share these gifts, and he strung his Uncle Don's just specifically for him. Uncle Mac. That's awesome. So, did you want to call forward the other people?
So we want to call forward. We'd like to call forward Paul and Vaughn. Next, you want to grab the. And then I'm going to get Paul's awesome students. Just remember where you were in the crowd. Come back because we have necklaces for you, as well as your student who's running the tech. So, do you want to call them by name? I don't think that they know I'm talking about them. Come up here so we can give you necklaces so we can sing our last song. You can pass out the stickers after you get your necklace. Oh, you guys are awesome. Very thorough. Here, I'll do it.
So the boss is taking care of that mess that I created of the tangled mess. So the copper shields are for us. The copper shields can be really tiny, like an inch, all the way to one I did for my Nux, which is nearly 6 foot. And so the name of our dance group is Git Hayetsk, People of the Copper Shield. Our youngest son, his name is Hayetsk, and the Hayetsk is the copper shield. To be able to wear it on your regalia, to even have it tattooed on your skin, you have to earn that through ceremony, through feasting and potlatching. And I've hosted 24 potlatches. And so for the name of our dance group, the Hayetsk represents our ancestors, it represents power, it represents peace, it represents wealth, it represents kindness and love. And so this is what we put forward into the name of our dance group. And we thought we couldn't have children, and that's why his name is Hayetsk. He's definitely a special little rainbow baby. But also, this is how we often break coppers and publicly pay people and thank them for the work that they do. And I just need one I'm going to do.
The tech guy with the blue shirt and all that.
Dane? Dane?
Dane.
You got enough? I love your blue shirt. I was wearing a blue shirt as well. I'm like, hey, blue shirt brothers. So we want to thank you for all that you did to get us organized here today. times. My sister-in-law, Cheryl, to come forward, please. Yes, you need to. I really, so when we came here, I'm so grateful to Paul and Yvonne for sending for us. I hadn't seen my brother in a few, because we all kind of blipped there for a second, with the pandemic. And so my brother Don moved from BC, we moved north. He moved over to here and got married, and Cheryl's such an awesome human being. I just want to thank you, and didn't get to properly say welcome to the family. You're doing amazing with this man, and I just got so much love for him and for you.
You're so good. I'm not going to stop videoing. You can't drag Paul's students out.
So I just want to say thank you for all of that, and thank you for we had a little gathering last night, and I know you were working, but thank you for that. I wanted to say publicly thank you for that, and thank you for sharing this awesome man.
We're so thrilled. I didn't know she was here.
Awesome. So did we get everybody?
Lula, come here.
Yeah.
She always does
Oh.
running in the back.
Had to hear her name 3 times. That says a lot in our Potlatch system. So for us, this is a huge blessing. I thank you guys for allowing us to take care of this little bit of business in this small thank you. But definitely from our hearts and our family to all of you. And Icesis, thank you for making this day happen. We hope this is the first of many trips out this way that we can actually bring more than just our recon crew in being able to come out and share more songs, and definitely a lot more dances. So can we give them a round of applause as they... If you guys stay up here, I'm going to make you dance. So. But not my brother. He's got to stay up here. Yeah. So I'm just going to introduce the song. So I'm going to introduce the song before we call this, and I have one more bit of business before we end the day. This song is a very old and ancient song. The song has survived through my late grandfather, Mique'l Dangeli, Chief Reggie Dangeli, and it comes from our Tsleil-Waututh side. According to anthropologists and archaeologists, the Tsleil-Waututh are extinct, yet I myself and our son stand in front of you as descendants of the Tsleil-Waututh. When our ancestors returned home from combat, they would sing this song and they would laugh and taunt their enemies because we had survived. In recent history, my grandfather, a veteran of World War II, when he returned home, our family sang this song. My Uncle Bill was a Marine in Vietnam, and when he returned home, our family sang this song. My 2 brother cousins were in the U.S. Navy and the United States Marines, and as I served 10 years in the U.S. Army. When we returned home from our tours of duty in combat, our family sang this song. Not only do we continue to sing this song for our warriors and our veterans, but we sing it for our residential school survivors. We sing this song for our young ones when they graduate from Head Start, which we're excited. He starts kindergarten next year, so we'll be singing this for him. But we sing this as they go through Head Start to elementary school, to middle school, to high school, to college and university. Our middle son, Nick, and I hosted a potlatch for my Knox, and we sang this for her when she became the first Indigenous person to get a doctorate in the study of our art history. And the Northwest Coast, I should say. Because we're still laughing and taunting our enemies because we're still here. Residential school, missionization, policies against us as Indigenous people did not work. We're still here, all of us, practicing the best way we can, our songs, our languages, our ways of knowing and being. Now to the other, or the settlers, we need allyship, and that's important. So we sing this victory song for all of us because for myself, as we're going through life, we're these bright shining beings and we become jaded. And it's our job to find our way back into the light. And nothing does that more than young ones, than children. And so to have this little one bring so much light, and then the future grandbaby is such a huge blessing. I actually want our little guy to lead this song.
We only just put him on the spot after.
Hey, don't go anywhere, just.
10 years of dancing with us.
So, for us on the West Coast, and particularly the Nisga'a, where, as I shared earlier, I almost my res voice almost came out there. We don't have SHs in our language, so it's a new thing. So I almost said something else instead there with my res voice. So I'm waffling. I apologize. But we're coming up to our Lunar New Year, and we say Ho-be-a. And that's not actually how we say it. We actually go, Ho-be-a! And it's your job to say Ho-be-a back. So I'll do it one more time. Okay, nice and loud. Ho-be-a! Ho-be-a! Beautiful. So when we were calling this beautiful little guy into our lives, I was one of the main organizers. It's now at the Peony Forum, which there's like 5,000 people that attend it at least. And so the Ho-be-a moon, the crescent of the moon, talks about if the crescent moon is like this, it's shaped like a spoon. It means all the bounty and wonderful things in life will be dumped out through that year. But if the moon is catching it, it's going to be a beautiful year. On here are a male and female spirit, and the hand with the Hayetsk actually happens to be the wedding crest that my Nux and I had, and inside her hand is a little dot representing Hayetsk. We were calling out to him for many times, and my brother Don always comes forward. I don't even have to ask this guy. He's like, what can I do? And all the potlatching and all the different things that we've done together, art shows. We shared a studio for many years together, and we even did projects where he does woodland style painting, and of course I do West Coast, so we always had this East meets West. And we even did projects together where we were stumbling over each other, trying to be gentle and kind, and finally we would just let our brother hats on, and we were just painting on top of each other, saying, no, you're messing it up. Of course, in the shop, we said something a little bit more colorful, but I'm so grateful to this guy. And he was sharing with me that his drum that he had for a long time, I think it was one I did for him, finally broke. And so he was telling me about that, and I caught that. And so I want to give him my drum. I love you, brother.
say, welcome home. We were down in the city by then, so he would say, welcome home. How are things back home? And what it did was it taught us as Indigenous people that this is home. And so I'm honored that my family came home to me here, and that it expands how we think of home again. And I heard the hint too, so I'll figure out how to get them back again so that they can come home. Mique'l
As a sister-in-law, I'm just showing you just a slight bit of my laughter, but I am dying. The giggles.
We're just loaning Hayek's, they're not taking it.
Yeah. Because there's nothing that makes speechless. It's really beautiful. And this is the time for Q&A. You can ask us literally anything. I share this, horrific teaching moment with my students all the time when they get nervous about asking things. I tell them on the first day that I've literally received every question, that especially introducing myself as Dr. Mique'l Dangeli and wearing regalia. There's people that put those two things as polar opposites, as though Indigenous people who practice their culture don't have PhDs. And then also, I have had people chase after me after performances and ask me if I can give them, as an Indian doctor, can I give them some remedies for whatever they're going through? So they assume that I don't have like a PhD in something that's not, you know what I mean? Like I think like the doctor part of it is like related to medicine people, and dance is medicine, so I don't argue that point, but what I know that they're doing is they're running into stereotypes. And the worst one was we performed every summer at Quaiquay. Quaiquay is the real name for what is known as Stanley Park. If you don't know the horrific history of Stanley Park, Jean Barnum wrote a book called Secrets of Stanley Park, and it talks about all the ways in which people were forcibly removed by the Canadian government from their homes and villages in the park. Like their homes were bulldozed down and they were physically removed and arrested upon coming back to their communities to create that place. And they put their ancestors, as many of us do, the remains of their ancestors in bentwood boxes tied into trees. We don't bury in the ground. And they took those ancestors down and grinded them up, and that was some of the first paved roads in Stanley Park. So that place has this horrific history of marginalization, oppression, forced removal. So to have dance in Stanley Park, especially for our Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh relatives who are the descendants of the people that were removed, is powerful. But we still have this mix of people coming in from all over the world with all of their stereotypes around indigeneity that they project upon what they're seeing. And we were asked by a woman who was coming from a Spanish-speaking country, I could tell by her accent, if we still do human sacrifices. And I literally thought, like, I can't be stunned by questions because I've been asked, like, everything I thought was imaginable. And this guy has such a wicked, sharp sense of humor. And as I'm standing there stunned, and there was a situation just like this, where I had the microphone in my hand, and he just grabbed the microphone and swiftly said, "Why? Who do you have in mind?" And just broke the tension like that. And then gave me the microphone back, and I composed myself, and I talked about the stereotypes around savagery. And then that colonization created these stereotypes of Indigenous people to validate
violence against them by portraying us as violent people, and especially where she was coming from in terms of the Mayan peoples. So no, this is a super safe space. You can't ask us a question that is going to offend us. That we're to this point, especially where we know if you have that question, someone else has that question. So these are the times that we take to build relationships, to help you come into a better understanding of who we are, and that takes practice. If we don't practice aloud, we keep our thoughts to ourselves. Sometimes it takes a lot longer to reach that place. So, if anybody has questions?
Here comes the mic.
I was going to say, I can run it for you.
The other one's dead.
The other one is dead.
You mentioned about Jubilee, and it's a Lunar New Year, but, okay, now I'm like scared. Because the big thing in Asia is Chinese New Year. It's the same time? It's the same date?
We share the same moon.
Ah! So it's the same date and it's February 10th this year?
Yeah, it's in February, March. It depends on.
Yeah, it depends on where the moon's at, where the wax crescent of the moon.
Okay.
But because we're 21st century people, jobs and other things, and timing, and other feasts, and they want to make sure they have it on a weekend. So it's actually at the end of February, and the one in Vancouver is March 1st and 2nd.
Okay.
And there's a really tight relationship. I'm going to use Mike because I'm not Mike. There's a really close relationship between the Chinese and First Nations peoples at the time where there were literally signs up in restaurants that said no Indians, no dogs. It was the Chinese people that allowed for us to join them in their foods, in their restaurants. And for that reason, you can hardly ever go to one of our ceremonies and not find fried rice and lumpia, chow mein, lumpia because we have a really strong relationship with our Filipino relatives. For many years, we danced at Chinese New Year's, and then we were honored when the Draggy Dancers came and danced at our Kobe ceremonies.
Over here. Don't be shy, folks. It's been a long day, but it's good.
Sorry, I'm just gonna put my questions again. I'm from Mexico, and I am from the Electrical College, and I've been wondering, I got a class called Diverse Populations, and I'm trying to learn different cultures and mine. And I have two questions for you. Sorry, I don't know why. Yeah, close. What does this event mean to you, and what is something important that people should know about this event? Yeah, this event.
First, let me say very well articulated question. Awesome that you situated yourself with where you're from, the class that you're taking, the reason you're asking those questions. That contextualization is spot on. So what this event means for me is that we're really getting to a place where the Academy is being indigenized, because it's essential to me to have my family. And this is not welcome in many institutions. It's not even welcome to have children, meaning that I jokingly refer to it, but seriously call it academic sterilization, that there was a generation of women who were not allowed to have children, that was seen as the end of their academic careers. So then what they did when they became advisors and professors is discourage their students from having children, and on and on and on generationally. When I was in graduate school, I heard my friends talked about why other faculty had said they died and they had had a child. They're like, oh no, did you hear about so-and-so? Her baby's due the date. And it almost worked on me. I mean, we took 10 years to have our son because I was so afraid of becoming pregnant. And then there's the stereotypes around pregnancy that, you have 2 lines, but you're the dumbest you've ever been in your life. And yeah, I was pretty dumb when I was pregnant, but I still managed to teach at university the entire time because you're just exhausted. You're literally creating a human being, so you get forgetful and you need more sleep. And I think that being up here and having our little boy, come and talk to me all throughout my Q&A after my lecture, and having my family here with me, for me, it's a hopeful sign. And for it to be led by Indigenous women, students, like when Paul emailed me that, I was just, my heart just, we say, my heart just swelled. Being an first generation university student and, facing sexism, racism, and all these situations that I didn't have, it took me a while to figure out a network of mainly Indigenous aunties that, and Haldane is one of them, who just checked in with me, who I could send a message to any time to say what was going on and how do I navigate this, and that I just see like this succession that's so different than when, Yvonne and I came up together as a rare Indigenous people who are Indigenous art historians. The majority of the people who study Indigenous art history that present themselves as Indigenous art historians are talking about their area of study. They're not talking about who they are. So to be surrounded by other scholars and have to hear about our cultures in ways that we know that they got their degrees upon the backs of our people without reciprocation for many, many years. Art history is one of the last areas of study I feel to be decolonized. Very resistant to Indigenous research methodologies. And I have, if anyone is interested in learning more about that, I gave a keynote address on resistance, on the fact that art history is resistant to Indigenous research methodologies for a conference that Jolene Ricard, who is an amazing Haudenosaunee artist and art historian, that she put on. So those are the many aspects. Like, this event is so exciting for me. Gives me hope in multiple ways. It gives me hope that you all are still here and how we're just an hour over. I mean, that in itself shows that the allyship that Mike talked about, that is so important for us to truly live in a time, a real time of reconciliation, means that we have to put in the time, we have to put in the effort, and also to see so many Indigenous peoples here, so many Indigenous young peoples, really gives me so much hope, because we're about to take over, you guys. Just know that, that this place should be our place. Every Indigenous person should be comfortable in an academic setting and should be leading in an academic setting.
Thank you very much.
Are there any more questions? Well, most of you have our social media. Don't be shy about adding us and reaching out that way. And we don't say goodbye, we say good. We'll see you all again. We wish you the best.
So the Rohat will say in real traditional Pala style, we also come bearing gifts for you. We just want to thank you all for coming and traveling, and I personally would love to thank you for bringing the weather from BC with you. It's getting dry, and we love the rain, and we know we need it here in Alberta. But much thanks from our group. It has been an honor getting to learn from you both, and everyone in this room gets to witness something new that maybe they don't see every day. Thank you.